Good morning, fellow Hoops fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Last Shot NBA show right here on Little Birdie TV, brought to you by our great mates over there at topsport.com.au. Now, it's a strange day today because there's no NBA games today. None at all. All 30 teams. There was 15 games on yesterday, so all 30 teams were in action. No games today because of the election day over there in the US, and apparently the NBA said that they prefer their teams to tell people to go out and vote rather than sort of take the attention away by actually playing games. So today we're going to be taking a look at some trade rumors and sort of see where players might be heading. We're going to talk a little bit about Ben Simmons. So of course we have to bring on old mate Benyam Kidane from NBA Australia. My brother, good morning.
How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm kind of going to enjoy this day off from basketball games, actually. What about you?
Yeah, we can exhale a little bit. It was pandemonium yesterday with 15 games on.
Yeah, and yesterday, to my knowledge, I think they all started within like 15 minutes of each other or something like that. So it was just pretty much like back to back to back to back to back. Like
a whole day.
Technically, you could have watched like the end of every single one of those games if you were so inclined.
Yeah, I had the 4 screens going with the multiple games. I couldn't keep track of nothing.
Tablets, everything going on at the same time. Yeah, it was definitely chaos. So we are, like you said, going to exhale a little bit today and just sort of enjoy the day off from games. But there's still a lot to talk about, BK. And we're going to start off with old mate Ben Simmons because, look, at the start of the season, I did say I thought he was primed to have a career year. I thought he was going to have a bounce back year playing alongside Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. It looks like he's only going to be playing alongside Kevin Durant for the foreseeable future. I definitely had high hopes, BK. So far, he's averaging career lows in points and rebounds, 6.2 points, 6.5 rebounds. He's averaging around 7.3 assists a game, which is right around sort of, where he's been throughout his career. He's averaging 31 minutes per game. So that's, again, right around what he's kind of played. He's missed a couple of games due to injury, came back yesterday in the loss to the Dallas Mavericks, played 16 minutes, finished with just 2 points, 2 assists, and 3 rebounds. BK, look, I don't want to have been wrong about Simmons this year because I like him, but at what point do we start getting concerned?
I think there's still some time. It is we're 3 weeks into the new season. This guy's coming off having back surgery. He's obviously got knee problems as well. It's not that surprising to me that he hasn't gotten off to the most gangbuster start, which I think is what a lot of people were kind of hoping for, that he'd hit the ground running with this Nets team, myself included. I still do think there's a situation that makes sense for Ben Simmons being a part of this Nets team, but it hasn't been a great start. You're right. And, the things that he's great at, the playmaking, he hasn't really been able to take control of the ball on this Nets team. And then defensively as well. We've seen him be one of the best versatile perimeter defenders in the league over the last few seasons, but the Nets have kind of turned him into an auxiliary big man. He's defending 4s and 5s a lot more. And then he's also fouling a lot more because of that. And we've seen him foul out of a couple games already. So, in the hopes of finding some sort of rhythm for Ben, that hasn't really been the case to start this season. No, you speak about that rhythm, and I haven't seen it. And I don't know how much of that is to do with that long layoff that he had from, playing, and how much of that is to do with the sort of turmoil surrounding the Nets and, the up and down sort of stuff that we've seen from them this season, because Ben really hasn't looked himself on the floor. Like a lot of the times, I've mentioned this before, he does look like he's going half speed out there, BK. And I don't know how much of that is him just sort of trying to work his way back into game fitness versus, he's just not that player that he used to be before. Yeah, and look, athletically, he does look a step slower than the last time that we saw him on the court. And you want to give guys the benefit of the doubt, especially guys that are coming off serious injuries. I feel like we kind of just see them recover from an injury and go, okay, great, get back to being the guy that you were. Especially for a guy at 6'10", having back surgery, that's not a minor thing. So I'm willing to give him, a little bit of extra runway to get going this season. But to do that, it couldn't be happening in a worse place than Brooklyn right now, because there's nothing in terms of consistency and calm within this organization at the moment. It's a tough place to try and work your way back into full health and gameplay.
BK, you said all that just to basically say that the Nets are a circus right now. So
I mean, you're trying to get your mind right. You're in Brooklyn. That's a tough place.
Yeah, look, it is a tough place. Obviously, one of the biggest markets, if not the biggest market in America as well, being New York, that is. Look, I still think Ben will come good. I'm probably going to give it about another month. If he's still sort of in the same position that he is now in a month's time, then I think it's time to sort of hit that panic button a little bit. But look, maybe the Nets have hit that panic button already, because it's been mentioned that his name is being thrown around in trade talks, BK, and there's already been some reports from Woj that there's probably a little bit of unrest in the locker room. Now, according to Woj, he said there was already a sense of disappointment inside the Nets organization with how Simmons has looked. And then there's a quote here from Woj. It says, Ben Simmons has been a source of frustration for Kevin Durant, for others on the Nets as well so far, because now he is unable to stay on the floor with a knee injury. This was obviously prior to him coming back, but prior to that, he has shown that he's a long way away from being back to an impactful player. Now, like I said, there's also been reports that his name has been thrown out in trade talks. Apparently, the Dallas Mavericks are interested in Ben Simmons. How do you see that playing? How do you see that playing out, BK?
Well, if you're a rival team, and you're interested in Ben Simmons, this is the time to strike, because his stock, from a trade perspective, probably hasn't ever been lower in terms of his production. The Mavs, they need to put someone else next to Luka Doncic. They've been kind of searching for that second star, and we know how much they're leaning into that defensive identity. So I get the interest in Simmons, especially when you're looking at maximizing Luka Doncic's production. It's probably more of getting a big man. It kind of makes sense for the Mavs. They went out and recruited in the offseason, brought in guys like Christian Wood and that kind of thing. So I don't hate that idea, but I think we still kind of have to give the Brooklyn thing a chance, because they don't even have a head coach yet. Like we haven't even really seen what this Brooklyn team is. Yeah.
Well, absolutely, I agree with you, but I also think, from the Mavs part, I'm just looking at that from their perspective now. I just don't think that Ben Simmons is going to sort of fill the void that they need. They do need a second guy next to Luke. I don't think Ben Simmons, or the current version of Ben Simmons, is it. I agree with you. A big man would probably suit them a little bit more, which we will get into in just a minute. But we are going to move on to a favorite topic of ours here, and that is Russell Westbrook. BK, you've been hanging on to the Westbrook Island. I will give credit where credit is due. He's been playing very well since he, sort of accepted that decision to come off the bench, and he's been that spark plug that we said that he could be as that sixth man for the Lakers. Now, despite the good play, BK, there is reports out there that the Lakers apparently offered Westbrook to the San Antonio Spurs in exchange for Josh Richardson and Doug McDermott, who, I'm going to be completely honest with you, forgot was still even in the league. Now, as a sixth man for the Lakers, Westbrook's averaging 18.8 points on 50% shooting, or just over 50%, 6.5 rebounds, 6.5 assists, and just under 1 steal per game. The Lakers do need shooting, though, and that's something that Josh Richardson and Doug McDermott could provide for them. Westbrook is going to be on an expiring deal, or he's on an expiring deal. He's $44 million, comes off the books. The Spurs would probably waive him, according to these reports, if they did make that trade. So how do we like, this sort of expiring contract and Westbrook's recent good play? Has it elevated his trade value a little bit, BK? How do you think this sort of deal would work?
Well, first of all, I'm not hanging on to the island. I've renewed my lease. We're back. And second of all, where were the Lakers when Bojan Bogdanovic was getting traded for nothing? Like, that's the kind of guy you want to fill that wing shooting role. And if you're looking at Doug McDermott and Josh Richardson as options, like, to me, you should have done this deal in the summer to try and get a guy like that. But whatever a Russell Westbrook deal looks like, I mean, he has been playing a lot better. Like, the coming off the bench, the numbers all illustrate that. But even just from a confidence standpoint, like, this guy's attacking the basket now. We're starting to see the little the Magic Johnson passes coming from Russ now. Like he's got his swag back a little bit. If that is, the end goal here is Russ plays really well, and then they can move him. I guess that's a win for the Lakers. But I don't know if that's going to fix it. Like if you move Russ and get these two pieces, or three pieces, it's not all of a sudden like, all right, now we're finally a championship team. Like there's still a lot of problems on that Lakers roster that I don't know if just moving Russ is going to fix, because right now he looks like their best player.
Yeah, facts, 100%.
Like, it's what it is.
I'm the biggest Westbrook hater, but I will admit, that he's probably their best player right now. You are right. It doesn't fix all their, needs of what they require right now. Just to give you some more context here, the Lakers are dead last in the league in 3-point shooting at 28.4%. Obviously, having guys like Richardson and McDermott, who are both averaging well over 40% from long range, would help that. But there is still many more holes in that roster, which brings us to our next guy, and that's Anthony Davis, BK. Now, Anthony Davis, for me, I think he's becoming more of an issue. Maybe I phrased that wrong, but for me, the biggest concern around Anthony Davis is I think he can be the Lakers' best player when he's healthy. He just hasn't been healthy, BK. Since he came over to the Lakers, he's played 62, 36, 40 games, and then so far this season, he's played in 8. When he's been healthy, and so far this season, he's averaging 22.5 points, 11.1 rebounds, 2.1 blocks, and he's shooting 53% from the field. Now, Bill Simmons from The Ringer, and look, I don't know how much stock we put into this because I don't know how much of an insider Bill Simmons is these days, but he said that trading Anthony Davis could be a good plan B for the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, according to Simmons, he says that's a plan B because the Westbrook trade, or whatever they think they can get for Westbrook, and whether you want to give up future assets, maybe that doesn't even make sense, because what are you getting if you're the Lakers? Which kind of speaks to the point that you were making, that if you trade Westbrook and you bring back Richardson and Dougie McDermott, you're not any better than you were with Westbrook.
Yeah, look, I think if you're exploring one trade, you're probably exploring the other. And if the plan B is moving Anthony Davis, who conceivably has more value in the market to another team, I think if that's the direction the Lakers are going in, which seems crazy to be, let's rebuild again around LeBron at age 38. I don't know. I think there's teams out there that would definitely be interested in a guy like Anthony Davis, because look, he hasn't been bad this season by any stretch. As you said, you put up the numbers 20, 22, 23, and 11. Defensively, he's been awesome. He's been really good defensively. It's just the offense hasn't really matched that same level. And the Lakers' plan when they acquired Davis was that ideally by this point, for sure, maybe even a couple of years ago, they wanted him to kind of take the mantle from LeBron James as that kind of 1A guy for the team. And it doesn't quite look like that's going to be the case. So if you're in a situation now, I think there's teams out there like the Bulls, the Nets, the Mavs, who we spoke about. The Knicks are another team that's flush with draft picks. If Anthony Davis is made available, they will get some calls and some decent, whether it's an all-star level talent or talented young players in return.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you get more for Anthony Davis than you do for Russell Westbrook at this point. Is it worth the Lakers just blowing it all up and just starting from scratch now? Like, if you get rid of Westbrook, you get rid of Davis, whoever you get back, again, doesn't make you an instant championship contender because, again, that roster is very flawed. LeBron's aged 37, 38, whatever he may be right now. Like you mentioned, you can't build around LeBron at this point. I don't think he's got that trade clause in his contract, the no trade clause in his contract anymore. Like, do you get rid of LeBron as well and just start completely from scratch?
I mean, that's really the decision here is, we're going to go again, make some moves and see if we can maximize this window for LeBron. If you have LeBron and you're not trying to win a championship, it's almost a disservice to LeBron at that point. And you do, I guess, kind of have to blow it up. But if you end up in a situation where you trade Russell Westbrook and Anthony Davis, and then you get Kyrie Irving, Buddy Hield, and Miles Turner in return, how much better is that team?
Look, it's still like it's 5 wins better, 6 wins better, or something like that. But it's at least it's better for the long term, I think.
And look, that's like a maximum return on I think what they're going to get. Obviously, you throw in some picks here and there as well, but yeah, the caliber of guy you want to sort of replace Anthony Davis with, I'm just not sure. Unless you can somehow trick the Nets into giving you Kevin Durant, I don't know what the solution is here for the Lakers. But either way, I kind of feel like they have to do something, because right now they are, and this is not an exaggeration, they are one of the worst teams in the league. And to have LeBron James on your team and be where they are, like the clock is ticking.
Absolutely, BK, and you couldn't have said it better. You said it's a disservice to LeBron at this point. No matter what you sort of think of his tenure in LA, he did bring a championship to that city. So he's done his part. To sort of have him sort of wallowing in a way below 500 team right now is terrible.
Hey, just send him back to Cleveland and let him take them to the finals.
Listen, with that roster, he is taking them to that final. He's taken worse Cleveland rosters to the finals.
I'm telling you, that they could win the whole thing.
Let's speak it into existence. That would be quite the fairy tale return. All right, BK, we're going to catch you again on Friday morning. Thanks for joining us, man.
Always a pleasure, my brother.
All right, we'll catch BK on Friday morning. Like I said, there is no NBA games today, so we're just going to take a quick look at the championship odds as well before we get out of here. Now, there's been some movement here because the Los Angeles Clippers are no longer the favorites. The Milwaukee Bucks, with their hot start, they'd lost their first game of the season yesterday, so they're still 9-1 on the season. The Clippers struggling a little bit at 6-5, but they're still right up there. So the Bucks favorites at $6.25, Clippers $6.50, the Celtics $6.75, Warriors $8. Despite their slow start, they're 4-7. So I think that one's a little bit generous still for me, because I don't think the Warriors are going to be contenders by the end of the season. Suns $9.25, Brooklyn Nets surprisingly still hovering around there in the low teens at $13. Denver Nuggets $16, Dallas Mavericks $19. And then we go down the line there. The Grizzlies 76 is also a 19. Cavaliers 21. Heat 22. The New Orleans Pelicans $31. And then, we've got the Raptors and the Hawks. But I don't think that any of those teams on that second page, barring the Pelicans, Pelicans could be a dark horse. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I still don't think they win the title, but they could be a dark horse to come out of the West. But the money's still coming in for the Clippers there. They're still hovering around $6.50. But like I said, the Milwaukee Bucks, who were my preseason pick for the NBA championship, have firmed as favorites at $6.25. All right, guys, that's going to do it for our show today. We're going to be back on Friday morning as usual. We'll catch you guys then.